staying healthy, keeping fit, even losing weight, it's easier said than done, right? Well, in fact, recent statistics from the CDC show that 40% of adults in the United States are obese. Joining us today to talk more about this is Bhumi Patel, a certified nurse practitioner with the Toledo Clinic. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. First of all, let's talk a little bit about what obesity is exactly, how that's calculated.
So obesity is a medical condition which is an accumulation of body fat, and overall that accumulation can cause negative impacts on your life and your lifestyle.
Right.
So we use a calculation known as body mass index, or BMI. So a BMI of 30 or above is considered obese, and a BMI of 40 or above is considered morbidly obese. So obesity can definitely negatively impact lots of health conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease. So really important to stay at a healthy BMI.
Right. So for some people, though, they're like, okay, I know, all right, I've seen my doctor. He tells me I need to lose some weight. How do people, what are some simple steps that people can take to get started with this?
So I think the best way to look at it is by starting to look at your plate. Half the plate should be some type of fruits and vegetables. So I always encourage, spinach, broccoli, kale, really nice options. Fruit-wise, either some apple, oranges, berries when they're in season are wonderful.
Sure.
So starting with that, half the plate should be fruits and vegetables. I also am a big advocate for increasing water intake. So
drink your water, people.
Drink your water. Yes. So decreasing the sodas, decreasing the coffee with the creamer and sugar and all that. So that's a good stepping stone. Also limiting sugars and starches in the diet. That would be your breads, potatoes, pasta, rices, those type of things can definitely help. Keep limiting that to about a quarter of your plate and making sure it's not piled super high.
Sure, I got that big blob of mashed potatoes on there, or bread or whatever added to it. So you're saying half fruits and vegetables, okay.
Yeah.
A quarter of your starch, and then
a
the
quarter
protein?
of some type of protein.
Okay.
Yeah. So fish, chicken, poultry, those types of things are best. Another big aspect of it, though, is the exercise.
Yeah,
so
I think that could be really challenging for people to be like, oh, I don't want to run, or I don't want to do something really labor intensive. But I mean, walking is a good start. Yeah?
Walking is a great start. So, and I think, I always recommend 30 minutes of cardiac exercise, something that's going to get your heart rate elevated for about, 30 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week is what I suggest. But that can be really daunting, especially if you're starting off. So small steps, taking the stairs at work, parking farther away in the parking lot when you're walking in to get your groceries, or, do it with friends. So it's a fun thing, like walking in the park with your friends a couple times a week. Because it keeps you motivated, also keeps them motivated.
Sure, and you kind of keep each other accountable, like, hey, I missed you today, where were you?
Yes.
You don't want to be that person who doesn't show up for the walking date.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, also there's some a lot of people are talking about, what are the GLP-1?
Yes.
The medications that Ozempic is the big name, I think we hear a lot.
Yeah.
But when would it come time for somebody to maybe turn to medications?
So with medications, the GLP-1s, I'm sure everybody's heard of them, Zepbound, Wegovy, those types of things. They're great medications, but they're used more to aid in weight loss, right? So, always talk to your healthcare professional about it to see if it's the right medication for you. But it's more like, yes, it helps with the weight loss, but you also have to be doing those lifestyle modifications with it. Okay. So, and that's how you're going to maximize weight loss on these medications overall, because if you're doing those healthy habits and kind of learning it along with the medications, then when you want to get off of them or taper off of them, you're already living that healthy lifestyle. You're already maintaining.
So there you go. So it's all about just doing, the things that we know that we probably should be doing, but actually sticking to them, because as you mentioned, if our weight really kind of gets out of control, some things can happen that we want to prevent.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, definitely. Taking those steps, kind of starting small. If you're a 4 pop a day drinker, start by limiting 1 pop a week.
Sure.
And then start off by walking 10, 15 minutes a couple times a week, and then increasing that interval, doing some strength training, things like that. Things that are attainable, small goals that will help kind of with the overall bigger picture.
Right, because if you kind of say, I'm going to do this, and you take on everything at one time, then you might fail, because you might get burnt out, or you might say,
definitely burnt out.
Oh, I can't do this. But if you start small and build on that,
yeah, Yeah.
We might see more success, huh?
Definitely, definitely.
All right, so for more information, here is some contact information for the Toledo Clinic, because, you know, it might be a while since you've been in to see your doctor, and I know it's hard because the first thing you guys have us do is get on the scale, but it could just be what you need to jumpstart a new health trend for you. Thanks so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.